Coach, last year you talked about it took a couple games or weeks to build trust with Jaiden Daniels at LSU in his first year, and the same thing with Riley. I guess where are you at with CJ and that, and then also you mentioned CJ or Jaiden had to build trust with his receivers to let them make plays. Where's he at with that?
Yeah, I mean, we're making progress, right? And I think it gets a little better every rep, and it'll get a little better every week. And I'd like the trajectory of where we're going offensively. We played this week, and this is across the board, really, run game, pass game, with the consistency that we hadn't always displayed the first couple opportunities we had. And the consistency was much better, and the result was much better. So, good Lord willing, lesson learned, and we continue to prepare the right way and give ourselves the best opportunity to put it on display on Saturday.
And then his check to phase on for the touchdown was obviously a talking point. How many redshirt freshmen can do that in game 3, and what's the balance of giving him more while not letting him be detrimental to himself? Yeah,
I mean, I think there's a balancing act with, with freedom, right? You love it when it works, and there's been other times where we've tapped things out where we haven't been as successful. So it's giving him an opportunity to experience being the quarterback and being in control, and ultimately, the more we can turn over to the quarterback, the better offensive unit we're going to be, because they're the ones playing the game. And we ask a lot of the quarterback, and that check that he made in particular between him and Faison, and the communication was spot on and what we needed at the moment. And we got a great result because of it.
How did the unselfishness of the running back room allow for the success that you guys had?
Yeah, it's tremendous. I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's been that way all year, and even last year. I mean, those guys understand that there's a lot of really talented football players in that room. It obviously starts with J Love and JD, but there's others as well. And those guys, the camaraderie that's in that room, how they trust, love, and respect one another, it's not just kind of coach speak. It's real. And you can see that by the way they play, because when they get their opportunity, they're all on point with what they're doing.
In hindsight, could CJ have done more in game 1 against Miami, or has he grown that much from game 1 to game 3 that allowed him to do more now 3 games?
I don't know. We're looking forward. All right, we're going to beat Arkansas this week, good Lord willing, if we play the way we're capable of playing. Could he have done more week 1, week 2, 4 weeks ago? I'm not sure. I know we're in a good place offensively. We got a good mindset about what we're doing, and we're getting better.
And Coach, when you look at Jeremiyah Love and Derek Price, what makes their partnership unique, and how do they complement each other on the field?
Yeah, I think just that it starts with their being team first guys, and their willingness to give a little bit more of themselves in an effort to make us a really good offensive unit with explosive runs. And they know each other, are very talented. They respect each other's abilities, but they also respect each other as teammates. And I think that just makes for a really good kind of yin and yang, if you will, between the two of them. And it's led to some really, really positive things for us.
And what do you think the duo teaches the rest of the offense about sharing the load and trusting each other?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Freeman, addresses that a lot with you guys, right? Team glory is what we're about, and you can't just kind of speak about it. You got to be about it, and those guys are a great representation of living it every day and putting it on display. That's a great example of what we mean when we say team glory.
Second away game this week, just kind of talk about the message you're giving to the boys as a second away game that you guys are going into this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be much the same as the first, right? It's going to be hostile. It's going to be loud. We're going to have to handle the environment, keep our poise, do a really good job of understanding that, we have to walk in there in lockstep, ready to communicate with each other, ready to do what's necessary from a sacrifice standpoint to make sure Notre Dame wins on Saturday.
It seemed the O-line been a little less pulling last week. Is that something to build on, or is that kind of game specific just due to their fronts?
Yeah, it's more scheme, week to week type of thing. We'll see how it goes. Certain defenses kind of lend themselves a little bit more to that than others, but there's always going to be some element of that every week in what we do in the run game.
Jeremiah, what's just the confidence level of this offense after the last 2 games?
We believe that, no matter who we're up against, we're going to go out there and make plays. Only people that we think that can stop us is ourselves. At the end of the day, that's literally what we think happens whenever we don't have success. We make errors. It's because of ourselves, and we own that. And next play or next game or next week or whatever it may be, we fix that, correct our errors, and continue to go out there and just do our best and throw shots, create explosive runs, whatever it may be. It's offense. We got a lot of confidence that they're one of the best in the nation.
And then a little random, but what makes Notre Dame's linebacker group tough to go against in the run game, just given we go against them every day?
I would say each of our linebackers have a unique skill set. Going against Drake, Bowen, Jaiden Ausberry, and Sneed every day, it's not something I enjoy. But they're very, very great competitors, very, very great athletes, and we help each other get better every single day. Wouldn't rather, go against any other group to better myself every single day. Wouldn't rather be a part of any other, team with those guys on it. But yeah, great linebackers, very competitive. We better each other every single day.
Jeremiah, you could easily get 25 carries a game. JD could easily get 25 carries a game. How has the unselfishness of your room, and then there's other guys that easily could get a lot of carries themselves, how has that allowed the success of the running backs unit?
Like you said, we aren't selfish. Me personally, I want to see every one of my guys eat. I want everybody to have their, time in the spotlight, their time in the sun, and their opportunity to, do something great. And I know that when an opportunity comes for any of us, we're going to go out there and put on for our room, for our team, and for ourselves. But at the end of the day, I got a lot of love for those guys. There's no better feeling in the world to me, seeing one of my guys that I train with every single day that I, than just been with ever since my time here, seeing them go out there and have success. Like me going out there and seeing JD do what he did last game, like it was a great feeling because, I see the work that he puts in every single day, every single week. And, JD, I feel like is one of the best running backs in the country. And I feel like a lot of people don't see that because there's just other factors. And a lot of people try to shine a spotlight on me here and there. And a lot of people just don't realize JD, he's one of the best running backs in the country. Like he creates explosive runs like that. Like any point in the game, like you need JD to show up, he's gonna show up. Pass pro, he's gonna show up. Out in the space, he's gonna show up. Like JD's that guy to me, and I look up to him, or I've looked up to him ever since I've been at Notre Dame. He got very fast feet, so I try to incorporate that into my game. Just seeing JD, way he works every day, like I respect it a lot. But one of the best running backs in the country.
And how has getting the experience of playing on the road in a hostile environment already this year going to benefit you guys this week, especially for some of the younger players who maybe didn't experience that before going down to Miami?
As a person who's, been in that type of environment before, I got knowledge to, give to the young guys that, are going to have their opportunity to, go out in this game and, start in a hostile environment. But at the end of the day, we're ready for it. They're ready for it. I'm ready for it. The team's ready for it. Ain't really nothing new to us. We've been in Miami. We've been at Texas A&M last year. We don't fold under pressure. Pressure is a privilege, we believe. And, those guys are ready. I'm ready. And I'm ready to go.
Hey, Jeremiah. So obviously you're sharing the backfield with Jadarius Price and working alongside a young, talented quarterback. What have you seen in them that has really pushed you to grow as a player?
That's a good question. What have I seen in them? I would say from JD, all of us running backs has our unique skill set. And I would say JD's, his bread and butter is, his quick movements, his quick feet, his burst. So, whenever I see JD out in the open field, making a guy miss, kind of take like a little mental note of that and, try to incorporate that into my game, which I think I do pretty well here and there. as far as CJ, just having that ego and that will to, or just that drive, you know, to be able to go out there and no matter the circumstances, and, you know, take a shot or, you know, have a lot of confidence and, you know, just throwing it up to, you know, one of your guys. Like last game, first drive, you know, CJ, a lot of confidence, a lot of trust in his receiver to, you know, beat that corner or whoever was guarding him, you know, throw it up, make a play. But that's what I take from those two guys and try to incorporate that into my own game, into my own self to, you know, find ways to get better, you know, mentally. And, yeah, both of those guys are great.
Thank you for the thorough answer. And I have to ask, fans see the highlights and all the touchdowns. What do they not see off the field that's part of your daily grind every day?
I would say just, you know, watching film, trying to be more immersed in the game of football. Like growing up, you know, like I didn't really watch football. I didn't really know too much about it. I just played, you know. So nowadays, you know, I'm trying to, you know, watch, you know, legendary running backs, you know, take some of their game, put it into mine. Obviously watch film on the team we're playing. You know, class is a very big factor at Notre Dame. Very, very challenging to be able to, you know, do both of those. And just, you know, sacrificing, you know, things in order to make sure that I'm reaching the goals that I have for myself every single day. Might lose some sleep over some stuff, but at the end of the day, you know, it'll be worth it in the end. But yeah, you know, every day is a grind. Every day is tiring. And despite all that, you know, you got to get the job done, you know.
And on the topic of film, is there anything in the Arkansas defense that you've identified as a strength? And how are you planning to compete against that, if any?
Strengths of their defense?
Yes.
I would say every team in general, you know, just every team, it all starts with the line of scrimmage. I feel like they got a pretty solid D-line, very good defensive end. Their linebackers are solid. Their whole defensive, you know, unit is pretty solid, I would say. Nobody that I see that, like, you know, I'll just be like, oh, I'm not worried about him. You know, like, he's not going to make a play. Like, I respect all of my opponents. And no matter who I'm up against, you know, I'm going to put my best foot forward and, you know, compete to the best of my ability. But watching film, and I just feel like I'm just going to go out there and do my thing. We as an offense going to go out there and do our thing. Special teams unit, defensive unit, you know. Just going to go out there and execute, you know, and do our best.
Jaiden, in the last two games, you guys have done a pretty good job against the run. I guess
Yeah.
What success have you what allowed you guys to have success?
Yeah, just coming out here, you know, practicing hard every day, putting a big emphasis on the run game is something that, you know, I feel like we've always done here. I feel like that's just, you know, standard for the Notre Dame defense. So really just playing hard, physical, you know, executing our keys. And, yeah, I think that's really, really allowed us to play good in the games and stopping the run. So.
And then the sack where you and Buchar kind of met at the quarterback. Can you kind of describe the play? Because it looked like everybody had a specific job and it kind of worked.
Yeah, it was so it was like a kind of like a man play, and then I was like, you know, step, come around. I feel like it's a great pressure because, you know, they didn't have enough people to block us, and, you know, everybody, you know, when they one-on-one, everybody did their job, so.
How was, you know, the struggles you guys have had on defense maybe surprise you guys? Because there's all the talk about the success you guys had during preseason camp against this offense, and then obviously the results haven't been there right away. How much has that kind of caught you guys off guard?
You know, like I said, you know, we just got to keep our head down, keep working, keep getting better. Obviously, you know, we play good teams. You know, there's going to be mistakes on both sides. You know, football is not a perfect game. You know, they're going to make plays. We're going to make plays. So we just got to keep coming out here, get better at the things that, you know, we might not be doing as well in. And then the things that we are doing well, we got to, you know, keep chopping and keep getting better at that. But at the end of the day, we just got to come out here, practice, take it one day at a time, keep getting better, keep fixing our mistakes, and keep executing. So.
Coach Room talked about, you know, pointing at yourself, not at each other. How important is that message, you know, when things aren't going as perfectly as you'd like?
I feel like that's really important because I feel like that's something that, you know, could tear a team apart fast when people start, you know, blaming, pointing fingers at each other. So we just got to stay together. You know, when something bad happens, we got to look at ourselves and see what we could have done better to, you know, stop that from happening. You know, like you said, when something goes good, that's when you got to, you know, acknowledge all your other teammates and everybody else. So
This game is obviously full of hits and setbacks. How do you pick yourself back up, especially with all that outside noise and a lot of judgment from, the outside world?
Yeah, I feel like, here at Notre Dame, we don't listen to any of that. That doesn't faze anybody because at the end of the day, everybody in this building at the GOO, we know what we go through, we know what we got to do, we know what we got to do to taste to go better. So as long as we just keep our head down, keep coming out here, executing every day, getting better, playing hard, I feel like, we'll end up where we want to be. So.
And how has football specifically shaped the way you see leadership and responsibility on the field and also off the field?
Yeah, I feel like it shaped the way I see, leadership in my entire life. From a young age, having great coaches and then being around great players. It teaches you. I feel like football has always been a sport that's taught me more than just, how to be a good athlete, how to be a good teammate, but it also teaches you how to be, a disciplined person, a competitive person, and especially football it's the ultimate team sport, so it teaches you how to be unselfish too. So.
Your hands down. How do you see yourself personally developing as a player on the field? What strengths have you noticed and identified in your game?
Yeah, I would say, my coverage, is still one of my strengths. I feel like I've gotten a lot better in the run game, given that I gained a lot of weight this offseason. But for me, I'm never going to be, satisfied. I feel like I can always get better at every little thing, even the stuff that I think I'm doing, perfect, which is never perfect. But for me personally, I always want to get better. I always find little stuff that I could get better at. So, it's never going to be enough for me personally. So.
Do you see their quarterback being the dual threat that he is? What are the challenges of that? And how critical is that to be able to contain?
Yeah, we're going to have to follow our keys. We're going to have to execute. We're going to have to send pressure, keep him in the pocket. But at the end of the day, I feel like if we do what we have to do, then, that's going to show on Saturday. I feel like if we just keep coming out here, keep getting better, and do what, a Notre Dame defense is supposed to do, then, we'll go out there and do what we got to do. So.
Kirby, how beneficial has it been for you to kind of settle into one position after working at tackle and guard for the last year?
I think it's been extremely beneficial. When you can settle down at any position, I feel like it's good. Obviously, I'm still working tackle here and there, not as much, primarily guard, but I think it's obviously good when you can settle down and just focus on one position.
And then Coach Freeman has talked about you guys going through necessary growing pains to get to where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, where are you a better player now than 3 games ago?
Oh, 100%. Coach Rudolph was saying, first time starting, the biggest improvement you're going to have is from your first game to your second game. I feel like I really saw that, especially in the past game. I feel like I really stepped it up. Got in the film room with Billy, with Coach Rudolph, and I feel like week by week I'm just going to keep getting better.
How about going into a hostile environment for the second time? How much, having experienced that in your first start, how much does that help now going into this week?
It's definitely, Miami's a hostile environment, so I think it's definitely going to be beneficial to me going to Arkansas and any away game for the rest of the season. So.
Obviously, you guys had maybe not your best performance in that game on the road. How much are you guys eager to go on the road and have a big performance as an O-line?
I feel like every game we just try to better our best, no matter if it's a home game, an away game. It doesn't really matter. Every week we're trying to go out there and just play better than we did the week before, and that's just going to continue on.
Obviously, protecting others is your job. What has been being an offensive lineman taught you about sacrifice?
Sacrifice is everything. We talk about the difference between sacrifice and investment. Investment is doing it for yourself, but sacrifice is doing it for the guys around you, and that's big in the O-line room. We pride ourselves on being a band of brothers and playing for the man next to you rather than playing for yourself, so that's everything as an offensive lineman.
And how do you measure personal success when the spotlight isn't necessarily always on you?
We don't really go for, as offensive linemen, you can't really go for personal success. Coach Rudolph, he told us today in the meeting, he said, when you're getting, I forgot the quote to be honest, but he said when you're getting taken advantage of, not taken advantage of, but when people look past you as an offensive lineman, that means you're doing your job. And that's kind of what we look for.
Are there any strengths that you identified from Arkansas's defense?
Their defensive line, they have a lot of size. They're very big. They get after it as a defense. They have a lot of talented players that can make a lot of plays. That's pretty much it.
And what would you like to take away from that as far as just the defense, what would you like to take away from that game?
We want to play with intent this game because they have we know they have a pretty big nose tackle. Just their guys up front are really big guys and they can move pretty well for their size. And so just playing with the correct technique, I think that allows us to be successful.
How much fun is a game like that when you're going up against another group of big guys? Just that battle in the trenches kind of asking the same thing because they have a big offensive line as well. How much fun is that for an offensive line?
It's really fun. Every week we love to be challenged. Coach Rudolph always talks about, pushing ourselves to be our greatest. To be great, you have to be able to do it against the best consistently. And so we pride ourselves on, playing against the best and doing it consistently against the best. So.
What's kind of allowed you guys to improve against the run over the last 2 weeks?
Definitely getting our cleats in the ground, getting the calls off the sideline. Communication's a big must, and I think we've definitely improved on that as a defense as a whole.
And then Coach Freeman talked about how important it was to kind of contain the B gap against a little quarterback. What's kind of the challenge of doing that as an interior guy, but also kind of obviously making sure you get a pass rush?
Yeah, definitely reading the slide, trusting your brother that he's going to be there and he's going to work off of you and you're going to work off of him. It's just camaraderie on the interior side, and just getting the play called, getting it done.
Offensive lines don't get much bigger than the one Arkansas will put out there. Your thoughts on that battle that will be on the inside and how much you're looking forward to that?
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good battle. They got some big guys, I think someone was 6'6", 340 pounds. You don't see that typically, especially at the tackles, man. That's a big boy moving, so I'm going to be very excited to see how we match up against that.
How often have you looked across the other side and seen guys bigger than you?
Every now and then, I think one that sticks out was Penn State last year when we were on the bull run. They had 77. He was a big cat.
Anything else?
What's the inspiration behind the mustache?
Shoot, man, I just wanted to grow it. I just got tired of, rocking the goatee. I just wanted to try something new, and I thought it looked good, so I'm gonna just keep rocking it.